Hey, welcome back to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew. This is our preview.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Yes, we want to give you just a little bit of a, kind of wet your whistle a little bit about what we're going to talk about this weekend. Remember, we do a part one show and a part two, so you don't want to miss either of the two.
Yeah, it's
Excellent.
always a good, we always lay out a couple of sports that we pick out. Usually start with college hockey right now because we're in season.
Yep.
We're going to sprinkle a little college basketball, a little NHL, and then we're going to go over in the second show our controversial point that we have picked out throughout the week.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got a little bit about the women's soccer and their settlement. They had a nice settlement, a $24 million settlement.
I like that.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting, but we're going to go into depth about it. We don't want to give it away, but basically, is it a win for the women, or is it just a little bit of placation?
I mean, it's a victory whenever you get any type of money, but is it what they wanted?
No.
Should it have been more? But something's better than nothing, I always say.
That's what they say, and I think that they're happy because really, and Seth and I did a whole show on the revenue and the revenue generating of different sports, and we specifically talked about the WNBA. And, if the money isn't there, if you're not generating the revenue, then where do you get the money other than if you want to just, end up, sponsoring and having your whole uniform with sponsorships like like NASCAR.
Yeah.
That's what NASCAR did. And, they don't really care about the TV viewership so much because, they've got their individual sponsorships.
Or should there be a little contract where we already know the NBA, we already know men's soccer, doesn't generate that much money out here in America, it does in other countries. Or should we piggyback it so we can build that league and then eventually say, hey, we're going to support you for a couple years, but after that you're on your own, and try to generate some revenue, because with those extra dollars that are in the league, it's going to make it better. It's going to make the jerseys better.
Yeah,
advertising.
Absolutely.
It's going to draw some people in. So maybe we look at how we build it so we can create successful leagues.
Yes, and you can use a model. The WNBA is a perfect model. Okay, you guys out there don't realize this, but prior to the WNBA, and there was another league that the Colorado Explosion was a part of. It was called the ABL. Before that, the poor women in college basketball had to go to Europe to continue their careers.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be better just to keep them here?
Yes, and the NBA helps supplement the WNBA, and I'm not sure. And we'll do some research between now and our show, but there's still that supplementation that's going on.
Yeah,
and I'm all for it, because the women's deserve their stage.
Well, and it's not even just women's sport. If you look at it, how many times have we started to try to do, what was the WWE one? Was it arena football? How we try to do knockoffs of the NFL, and we've tried to...
the Arena Football League lasted for like 24 seasons.
Yeah, but then it folded.
I know.
But I think
why?
Because Vince McMahon didn't want to pay for it anymore.
Was it Vince McMahon?
Yeah, Vince McMahon, I remember, played a big part in it, but
That's too bad, because I really liked watching it. I mean, that's where Kurt Warner got his whole... I mean, if it wasn't for that Arena Football League, we never would have known who Kurt Warner was.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's why I think we look at, keeping stuff in America, keeping the best competition here, and unfortunately, the only way to keep good competition here is money.
You got to pay him. You got to pay him. Hey, we're going to talk, and Seth is going to go over our featured games for our college hockey. I can tell you right now that Cornell is in the fight of their life. They will be playing Quinnipiac, at Quinnipiac, and then turning around and playing a very, very tough Princeton team this weekend. They need to win both, okay? If they're going to get an at-large bid for the Frozen Four tournament, Cornell needs to win out. And I'm not saying they have to win the ECACs, but they need to at least win these two games and maybe play two games in the ECAC tournament, and then they'll be able to secure the at-large bid.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to come into right now. Is the tournaments are right around the corner. St. Cloud State had just dropped 2 games to Nebraska Omaha, who actually has been coming on a little bit late in the season. They've been bouncing around that 20 seed, like I've said before. They're back in the top 20. St. Cloud State's down to 11. So St. Cloud State is going up against Colorado College, who isn't ranked.
Down in Colorado Springs too, right?
Yes. And they're going to need a sweep here, not only for playoff position, But also, even though a lot of people are already picking him in, you need to get these end wins just to solidify getting an at-large bid.
Yep.
We also have Western Michigan versus North Dakota. This is another one of my favorite matchups. Western Michigan just came in and just hosted Denver, and I believe they lost both.
Who was that?
Western Michigan.
No, there was a split.
Oh, it was
no,
a split.
They didn't. We played in Kalamazoo,
Yep.
and we won the first one, and we lost the second.
Okay,
one.
yeah, and so Western Michigan's still in the top 10. They're sitting, I think, at 6 right now. Denver didn't really drop that much, so that's good for them. But North Dakota right now is chasing Denver in for the conference championship to get first place, to get the easier schedule. I don't think they're going to be able to catch them, but you never know. They're coming on hot at the right time. Follow that up with Denver is now going to take on Nebraska Omaha. The team
In Nebraska.
Omaha is heating up at the right time. I don't foresee Denver dropping a game here, but you know what? I didn't expect St. Cloud State to get swept either.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to some pretty good matchups here coming down to the end of the year. Looking at this conference, there's not many teams in this conference. I believe only like the bottom 2, maybe 3 aren't ranked nationally in the top 20.
Excellent. What do you got for the NHL?
So NHL, Colorado Avalanche, we talked about they had a 3-game road trip, and I said, you know what, they may drop the one against Boston.
Yep.
They did. Nathan McKinnon, little controversy.
He hit somebody in the back of the head.
No, he lost a face-off, and he went up to the ref and hit the ref with his stick.
Hit the ref.
But there was no disciplinary actions. So that
Really?
was interesting to see.
Could you imagine if in the NBA if somebody just punched one of the refs?
Oh, you can't even punch him. If you bump into him, you're ejected.
Exactly.
And so they have a tough couple games ahead. They have Winnipeg tonight, and then they have Vegas this weekend. And Vegas should be a tough one. We lost them in playoffs last year. So looking to kind of drive them down in the standings. Colorado's still sitting number 1.
Yep.
Not even Eastern teams ahead of us. Florida's right on our heels. But
And the Wild too, right?
Yep, the Wild are in second place, and the Wild, technically third, but they haven't played as many games.
Sure.
But the Wild have back-to-back games against Calgary, one in Minnesota, one in Calgary. It should be interesting to see if they can take both, but they're going to have to if they want to keep up.
So when do the Avalanche come back to Denver?
Oh, they're here. They're here tonight. They play Winnipeg tonight, and
Wonderful.
then they play Vegas Saturday.
Yeah, I'm telling you, folks, get down to the Pepsi Center. Well, it's not the Pepsi Center; it's called
Ball
Ball
Arena.
Arena. But it's so hard for me not to refer to it as the can, because it was the Pepsi Center for so long. But yes, folks, I'm telling you, you've got your top-ranked Colorado Avalanche, the number 1 in the NHL.
And correction, I did miss it. Minnesota, after the road trip, are sitting 4th. But
4th, really?
they technically are 1 game behind St. Louis and Calgary. So if they win their next game, they will be ahead of them because they're only separated 2 through 5 are only separated by 2 points. That's 1 win in the NHL.
But there is still almost 30 games left in the regular season. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, we're sitting with 32 games left for the Avs. We're sitting at 31. But we are 12 points ahead of second place in our division, in the whole Western Conference. So
that's good.
We're looking at a number 1 seed going in the NHL, minus the complete breakdown. Like I said, this team is built with depth. Yeah. McKinnon actually has sat out the last 2 games due to a lower body injury. I don't believe he's playing tonight either, but should be back for Vegas. But we haven't missed a beat. We're not losing.
No. Well, I'm telling you, folks, okay? And Seth is probably too young to remember this, but 2001, this town went absolutely ballistic with Ray Bourque and
Rob Lake.
Oh my God! Yes,
Adam Deadmarsh, Adam Foote.
Well, we had Joe Sackett,
Peter Forsberg, Milan Hayduk,
our goalie Patrick Waugh,
who actually ran our team for a little bit.
Yes, he did.
Risky coach. Honestly, love watching it. It was a heart attack every day for an Avs fan because I've never seen a team be down by 1 goal and like the second period he'd be like, all right, we're pulling the goalie to tie the game up. And I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
But
well, he was incredible. Matter of fact, Patrick Waugh actually squared off with the goalie from the Red Wings at mid-ice or center ice, and they duked it out.
Yeah.
When do you see two goalies ever fight?
Patrick Waugh was aggressive, and I loved it. He was just an overall fun goalie to watch. He was always on the top 10 for amazing saves.
Yes.
And, that team is basically a Hall of Fame team. I don't
Ray
know.
Bourque? We forgot about Ray Bourque.
Yeah, Ray Bourque was awesome coming from Boston, and then we had Rob Blake come from L.A. to make that team great.
Well, folks, what you don't realize is that, and I don't know if this will happen this time around, but I sure hope it does, the bars were packed. The sports bars were packed. and everybody was talking about it. There was a big buzz, and most of those series, the one with the Dallas Stars, and then of course with the Detroit Red Wings, went to 7 games. It was absolute pandemonium in Denver, and I hope we have it again.
Yeah, and this year is actually really interesting. Coming closer and closer to the trade deadline, we're seeing big names move, which we didn't see last year or the year before. But like Jack Eichel came from Buffalo, he's now on the Vegas Knights, and maybe that's the change Vegas needed. Maybe it's not. We don't know yet. But Claude Giroux's still rumored to come over to the Avs, depending if we can meet the asking price. We don't want to give up any of our young players because we have a very depth team. I mean, you can see it in the Colorado Eagles. That's our AHL affiliate. And that team, they're sitting in the middle of the division this year. But in previous years, always a top team in the AHL. And that's our farm team to come up and support our NHL players when we have injuries or if we have a couple players go down. And we just have hats off to Joe Sakic. You have built a dynasty team that I think we can look forward to for the next 5 to 8 years.
And a lot of times we were talking about this, being a great player doesn't always equate to being great in the front office.
Yeah.
John Elway is a perfect example of that. Not to cut on John Elway, because I like John Elway. He's a good guy, and we're going to try to get him on our show. I haven't run into him in a little while, but back in the day, I knew him, well enough to go and have beers with him at Del Frisco's and all the different places that we went to down in the tech center. But to be honest with you, what I'm excited about is the whole idea that we're going to have an extended hockey season that will last probably well into May. Because the NHL finals aren't until the first week in June, right?
They run into... Yeah, they come up at the same time NBA. They're about the same timing as the NBA.
And the NBA goes well into June.
And so that's the reason why I like hockey a lot, too, is, I mean, I don't like it with some sports. I think baseball has too many games, but that's a completely different subject.
Yeah.
But I just love that it starts in October. You get it for almost half the year.
Yep.
Last year when the Avs got eliminated, I was heartbroken, but I knew that next year was coming up real quick.
Absolutely. Same thing with the Rapids. We'll talk a little bit more about the Rapids. That's one of the teams that we're going to be starting to talk about. It was heartbreaking. They were the number 1 team in the MLS, and they ended up losing that heartbreaker in the first round of the playoffs. Single elimination, boom, you're done.
Yeah, and it was like the 89th, 90th minute. It was a bad bounce, but that's what the difference is in playoffs, especially in single elimination.
Yeah.
A bad bounce can really cost your team. And you know what? Now we're on to next year. We've made some changes. All I hear from the Rapids fans is with the new guy in charge that they think that the Rapids are here to stay because they have been known to go to a championship, either win it or get close, and then be one of the worst teams in MLS for 2 years and then make it back. So we're going to get some consistency out of our Colorado Rapids.
Well, good. And, our second part of our show, we're going to go in, we're going to talk, and like we said, we were going to talk a little bit about the women's soccer. We also want to talk a little bit of basketball. Remember, we're going to start ramping up here. Duke versus Syracuse is a big, big game on Saturday, okay? Yep. Duke travels to the Dome in Syracuse. Remember, the Dome in Syracuse seats 31,000 people. Now, I don't know if they'll get 31,000, but there's going to be more than 25,000, probably closer to 28, 29,000, watching a basketball game.
Yeah.
That is outstanding, okay? Remember, most of the stadiums, professional stadiums, only hold about 18 to 20,000.
Yeah.
So it is really wonderful. It's going to be a great experience. You get a chance to see the Boeheim brothers, okay? It's a duo of brothers that are Coach Boeheim, his sons, and they're fun to watch, folks. They really are. So hopefully you'll get a chance to see that. Who's Michigan State playing? Did we check that out?
Michigan State's going to play number 4 Purdue. Now, the Big Ten is tough this year.
Yes, they are.
Michigan State, honestly, they're going to be a low seed going into the big tournament if they even make it. They're sitting, I want to say they're about 7th right now. They're not ranked in the top 25, but Izzo always has his team ready. So I could see them putting up a fight here. Whether they win or lose, I could see them making a run in the Big Ten tournament to get a bid into the March Madness.
Excellent. We're also going to talk a little bit about some of the hot water that Phil Mickelson got himself into over in Saudi Arabia. Matter of fact, his longtime sponsor, KPMG, dropped him for his comments. Now, I'm not going to give it away, but we'll talk in depth about it, and we'll bring the article out that was in the Denver Post last week, or actually it was there on Wednesday. And, again, what Phil said, it's going to be interesting. I think you'll get a chance to see both sides of it. Phil is a longtime ambassador, ambassador for the PGA Tour. And, right now we've got a Meeker resident, believe it or not, and the Shark, that's where he lives. Part of the year he lives up in Meeker. And they're trying to start a rival league that's going to be like a World Golf League.
Yeah.
So Phil didn't take too kindly to it, and he made some pretty disparaging comments. And I don't understand how these companies like KPMG, nobody even knew who KPMG is. Now, my friend John Blasey from high school works for him. It's out of Harrisburg. But why would the sponsor just drop him?
Everyone has their little push buttons of they don't want to be in the center of any controversy. And whenever you get backlash, especially when you're a big-time athlete like Mickelson, you're going to lose sponsors. You're not going to always make everybody happy.
But he's had the sponsor since he came out of college.
Yeah, but still,
State,
they want always to be in the limelight. Anything that rocks the boat, sponsorships tend to pull away. Now, will they be back? They may ask for him back sooner than later. But
I mean, he's got more money than he knows what to do with. And Phil Mickelson brand, you don't need to worry about having a sponsorship. Matter of fact, there'll be plenty of people lined up that are courting Phil Mickelson for sponsorships. So it'll be interesting to see what hat he's wearing in the Masters this year.
Yeah.
So, anyways, well, just that's pretty much it for what we want to talk about. But is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, just come on down. Tomorrow we'll be doing the show. We start usually about between 10:30 and 11.
Yes,
Go
we do.
on for about hour and a half. And we have great food here, so if you get hungry.
Where are we?
We are at Brothers Bar and Grill here at the shops at Northfield.
There we go.
And we have some great drink specials. We'll have all the games on. The big hockey games are starting on Saturday.
All the basketball.
All the basketball games are on Saturday as well. So we'll have those on. Pull up a TV, root for your team, and we'll have a great time.
What drink specials you got going on?
So right now we're still doing $5 Vegas bombs, which is always a popular one. We're still featuring Busch Light, and we are
Busch Latte.
Busch Latte, which for my Midwest people love it.
Exactly.
You Betcha guys do a great job with that.
Exactly.
And we also have, I believe it is 450 Michelob Ultra.
Oh wow! Now that's good for you guys out there watching, trying to lose some poundage.
Yeah, we're still living up to your New Year's resolution.
That's right. All right, folks. So remember, tomorrow at Brothers, live broadcast up in the mezzanine section. Tune in, Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthews. If you can't tune in live for us, no big deal. We are streaming on all of the streaming platforms. Look for us, okay?
Yeah, make sure to leave us a comment. Let us know
Absolutely.
if you loved us or hated us.
Absolutely. If we suck, tell us. All right? We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, everyone.